Welcome to the Melanated Veteran Podcast. I'm your host, Miss Misha, and before we begin, the first order of business is to share, like, and subscribe to the Melanated Veteran. We're on almost all major platforms: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and many more. Don't forget to check out our website at www.themelanatedveteran.com. So today, I actually met our special guest when he was on another podcast called Journey to Be Me, and I had no idea that he was a veteran. He's a personal chef, founder of Chefs by the City. Please welcome Chef Edwin Henderson.
What's going on, beautiful people? How you all doing?
Hey, thank you so much for being on here. I know, like I said, I know you are a busy, busy man. So for you to take the time out, that it means a lot.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you having me, and yeah, it's one of those things that I enjoy doing. So I definitely stay quite busy, chefing up the world a little bit.
Right. So let's get started. So how long were you in the military?
I was in the Army for 8 years. Did one combat tour back in 2003.
Okay. So why did you choose the army?
Well, my initial choice was actually the Marines, and I ended up getting picked out by Army recruiter one day, and so I stopped by the recruiting station, and it was really me weighing the options on which one was a better fit. And as much as I always said I was going to go into the Marines, I think at a certain point then I started looking at, which one you could promote in a little bit faster. And that actually was the one that I guess that, spoke to me the most or whatever, was looking at being able to kind of rise up in the ranks and still be able to get the, same, high-speed training that I believe that you could get in the Army.
Okay. So what was your job while you were in?
I was in logistics, so I actually started off, working in supply, and then I ended up going over to a civil affairs unit, and working actually in during our deployment. I think it was in Iraq, 2003. We kind of worked on the education and helping rebuild the infrastructure. So after the combat phase and things of that nature, I transitioned from doing logistics to that civil affairs side of things.
Okay. All right. So, you get out. You get out of the military. What made you decide? Look, this is what I want to do. I want to work into being a chef.
To be honest with you, it all happened through life situations.
Okay.
When you really think about, a lot of successful individuals are those that we kind of deem as successful when you think about like the Oprah Winfrey's and Steve Jobs and just those type of people. The place that they're at in their lives, actually, it happened, I think, through something through tragic. Oprah was fired from a certain station and she could have quit, and Steve Jobs went through the situations that he went through, and with me, I actually went into law enforcement after the military, so I actually became a sheriff deputy for about 5 years. So I started off in detentions and then went out on patrol, and then I unfortunately got terminated from that, and it was a situation that I just felt like, man, this is like crazy that it's so minor in itself, and I got terminated. But then they overturned the termination and they made it a resignation to allow me to go back into law enforcement, and I had a very difficult time trying to get back in. So I had to start asking myself, like, okay, did this door close for a reason, or or is it going to be reopened? And I had to recognize that door closed for a reason. It was the very hardest pill to be able to accept in my life, because I was dead set on retiring from the department, going being a detective, retiring there, and then going into education and becoming a teacher. That was the roadmap that I saw for my life back at that time, and it didn't happen. And so fast forward, I go into now working into security. So when you think about working in security, it's just like it seems like you're being demoted, And it was another hard pill to swallow, but it's like I became this flashlight cop. And it
Right.
was, one of those things where it tugged at my, not necessarily my pride, but it hurt. But I realized, this kind of person that I am is that I had to continue doing something because at that time, I had a young son, who's now 13. And I just felt like, what, I'm always speaking about, to people, not to, if you got to get out there and take a minimum wage job, you got to do it. So it's almost as if I had to practice what I was preaching, and I did it. And so I stayed in that for a while, but then I started having opportunities that started coming about through the Wounded Warrior Project. And I started getting connected with the physical health and wellness program. And so this idea came to me one day where I started a business called Everyday Health. And I started, it's called Everyday Health, Food, and Fitness. And it was as if he said, when I stepped out of the bed one day, he was like, "Dummy, that's your initials." And my name is Edwin Darnell Henderson. And so I started this because of something that he brought back to my remembrance that happened when I was deployed in Iraq.
Wow.
And when we first got to Baghdad Airport, I was the driver for our team before we went into the civil operations. And I also picked up the skill of cutting hair when I was in college. And so they all knew that I could cut hair. So I started cutting everybody in the battalion's hair, and they were paying me. And so, me being a goofball, I ended up printing out a plane or a globe on a sheet of paper with a plane flying around it, and I put EDH Incorporated on there as if it was my business while I was in Iraq.
Oh.
And so God reminded me of that moment, the moment that I actually started Everyday Health, Food, and Fitness. Like, dude, you already spoke that you were going to actually have a business, never knowing that I was going to ever have a business. Like, my idea of having a business would have been just vending machines, like being the vending machine king of Houston or something. Because I never felt like I had this unique concept or idea, like to create some computer application or, come from that background. So I think a lot of those situations took place. And then, in conjunction, when I moved from the security company, I now take a position with, with Memorial Hermann Hospital in their environmental services. I got terminated from that job in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And, and it hurt like hell. And I share this story because of the fact that a lot of people will hear it, and they're here like, dang, how many times can you get terminated? But I had to realize that a lot of these situations, they happen for a reason, because there was no reason for me to have gotten terminated in 2 weeks. Like, literally, it was, I got flown out to Colorado. Everybody here in Houston, that were my staff, loved me. And when I got to Colorado, I was told that I was too focused on school because I was taking summer classes at U of H at the time. I was told that I felt like I was better than the people that I worked with. So all of these different little things started popping up, and I'm thinking to myself, like, God, like, I don't understand this. And then when they told me I was going to fly back to Houston to be able to finish my training, I got told that I was being terminated. And, it's kind of like my world crashed again. And so fast forward, I take a position at this company called Spectrum Catering out in the woodlands of Houston, or out in Woodlands, Texas. And Spectrum Catering is a special events company that has, private chefs. They do the Circus Olay tour. They do a lot of the PGA golf tours. I was their first facilities manager at this company. I worked there for a year and a half, and I get terminated July 7th, 2013.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm now asking myself, like, God, how is this happening? And the guy that was in there, I remember the guy's name was Jim. Jim was the brother of the guy that owned the company, Dave Smalley. Jim looks at me and says, as I'm walking out the door, he wasn't my supervisor, but my supervisor was in the room after they terminated me. And he looks at me, and I kind of stopped at the door with my box. I'm literally with my box in my hand and my belongings. And I looked at my supervisor, a guy named Ruben. Real good guy. And I looked at Ruben. I said, dude, I don't know how you could do this. But I said, I think at that time my son was 6 or 7 years old. I said, I have a 7-year-old son at home. And I literally was crying as I'm walking out the door. And Jim looks at me and he said, Edwin, I know that you're hurt, but he says this could be a blessing in disguise. And I'm like, I looked at him and I just was like, I don't know how that could be. And I walked up and I drove and I went home. And that crushed me to a point where I honestly can say that I honestly became suicidal, because you think about the sheriff's department, you think about, the company, a medical company. Then you think about, Spectrum Catering, that happens. And it's like, how is this happening? I had a gun in my hand, literally on the couch, and I came back to like reality of, my son and thinking about, what that could do. And, I put it down. Fast forward, I take a position at this point in time, and I may be missing, in between that, I started this self-discovery of like getting back out there, serving the community. And so this is the part where I guess leads into me, becoming a chef. As I go in and I start working for the community, volunteering, I'm looking for opportunities to be able to serve, because I'm like in the midst of my problems, I'm focused on me too much. And it was something that I needed to do to be able to show my son, to show my nephews that were like my sons. And so we discovered this organization called The Mission Continues. The Mission Continues, was an organization that allowed me that opportunity to get out there and reconnect with the community, to be able to assist them through their problems and things that they had going on. And ultimately, I ended up landing the job with Mission Continues, and I started working there for a year and a half. July 7th, 2015, I get terminated from The Mission Continues.
Oh, wow.
And, talking about it right now, it honestly, it kind of tears me up a little bit, because it's not that it hurts, it's the fact that I realize it's almost kind of like as if God is like connecting the dots. And now I can start, I'm seeing what's happening in my life in a sense. And although I still don't know what that full outcome is as of right now, that company gave me the concept of what the chefs do. And I honestly, when I started doing things as a chef, I honestly have completely forgot about Spectrum Catering. Completely had exited out of my mind. And then one day it was like, dude, you're a chef. Spectrum Catering had chefs all back there, and used to go back there and talk with them. Like, I used to have access to the deep freezer, the walk-in freezer, because I had a good relationship with the executive chef that, was over the catering department. I had a good relationship with the special events catering team. Still got a great relationship with the lady that now, she was over special events, but she now works for the city of Houston. And it's like all these connections are being made, and I don't even really see that it's happening. And so I leave Mission Continues, and Everyday Health now is starting to transition. I'm doing personal training and meal prep, but I start getting asked questions about, do I do catering? And I'm like, well, no, not really. And they ask, well, is everything that you're going to make, healthy food? And I said, for the most part, I'm going to try to, create whatever those dishes are that you really like and make it in a healthier way. But I'm still not a chef. I'm just, a dude that just loves to cook. And so Everyday Health now transitions into me no longer doing personal training, but Chefs in the City comes about. Chefs in the City comes about because my deployment in Iraq. And I fell in love with the TV show Sex in the City. One of my buddies, we had a little small hooch that, and for those that don't know what a hooch is just a spot there, just our living quarters, and it was literally in one of Saddam's, it was like a gutted out apartment complex, and it was about 5 of us in, this little tiny room with cots and our duffel bags and all of that. And so, we're in this hooch, but it brought me back to that moment where, one of the sergeants, his girl, she sent him the DVD collection, just jokingly, not thinking that he would watch it. And he was like, man, I'm not watching this. And I also sent him the DVD collection of Friends. So I fell in love. I'd already loved Friends, but I really fell in love with it all the more. But I started watching Sex and the City, and Sex and the City became a part of me when I came back from my mission. So we would go out, get back out with the PsyOps team, and I would watch Sex and the City inside of the chapel, or our makeshift chapel, all night until the next morning, until we went out again. So I've always wanted to have catchy names when it came down to things with business. Like when you hear Everyday Health, you can easily remember that. Right. When you think of people with certain businesses, you want to have something that's memorable. And I started thinking to myself, like, I want something that, has a ring to it, and that at the same time almost markets itself. And so the moment I started operating, I filed the paperwork for Chefs in the City in July of 2017. I didn't know exactly what it looked like, didn't know exactly how I was going to operate as Chefs in the City. I just knew that I needed to go ahead and file this information or this DBA under my LLC, Everyday Health. And so I did it, and then I came into the concepts and exactly what it was I was going to do. And it's like, man, I should create this idea of kind of having multiple chefs that are part of a team that are not necessarily my employees, but they're all independent chefs themselves. And so I slowly started developing that concept to the point where we're currently at right now is a concept of having, if you're looking for a chef for a special event, if you're looking for, a private chef, if you're looking for, catering, if you're looking for cooking classes, I have chefs that can provide that. But if also you're looking for a bartender to be able to come work an event because you don't want, people just to, start pouring their own drinks and going crazy and this and that, and you kind of control that, you have a bartender. So I provide this unique culinary collective of bartenders, chefs, and wait staff, and to try to create like this memorable experience. But then we're also, passionate about serving the community, because it's not just about us; it's about how we can, positively impact other people. If I said that in a nutshell, I'm long-winded, so
No, this is amazing. I'm loving there's so many gems that you given, just knowing that you didn't give up. Things got hard, things got difficult, but you still kept going. And look at where you are now. I'm you almost had me tearing up, just seeing everything that you've been through. I appreciate this. So what advice would you give, real quick, what advice would you give someone that's, preparing to get out of the military? You were saying that, you kind of just got thrown upon, the job that you're doing, but what would you tell someone that's preparing to get out?
So I would say for anybody, getting ready to get out of the military, is start now figuring out a game plan about what you want to do. Start identifying what it is you like to do, what it is you feel like you enjoy. If you decide that you want to go and work for somebody, that's fine. But also don't limit yourself in regards to potentially looking at the idea of starting a business, because the greatest thing that I can say that as veterans we offer a very unique quality that a lot of individuals just don't have that aren't, that are civilians. And we come with a different, work ethic and a different drive. It's not to say that, we're any better than anybody, but I just believe that the military has instilled something in us of value. So if you decide that you want to go and work for an organization or for a company, that, go for what you feel like you're worth, and don't settle, and don't, take anything any less, but go out there with some tenacity and be proactive. But you have to start now. Don't feel like there's a sense of entitlement, because also in the veteran community, there's also a negative thing that I believe that, slowly tries to rear its head, where a lot of times as veterans, we feel like we're entitled to a certain thing. Yeah, we may have served that country, and I appreciate, our country for supporting us and being there, but at the same time, nobody owes us anything. We got to get out there, and we still got to make it happen just as anybody else does. And so I say this to say is that, believe in yourself, tap into the VSOs, the veteran service organizations that are out there, because I think that's going to be your greatest tool. The Mission Continues, the Wounded Warrior Project, if you're going to be service connected with, disability, or, if you're a female veteran, connecting with Grace After Fire, and just all these different organizations that are there to help you succeed. You're not alone, because that's the biggest misconception. And that's what you're going to feel when you get back, because you're accustomed to that way, that military lifestyle, is that you're not alone, and that there are people out there that are going through the same thing, that they're feeling the same exact thing. And if you connect and plug in, but also don't just get out there and do something for yourself, get out there and do something for somebody else. Because when you look at the fabric of society right now, you think about the atmosphere that we're in right now, everybody in a sense is kind of out there for themselves. And, we have to get back to a place of serving, because I believe that through service, that is what creates a better world. We could talk about politics all day, but at the end, if we get back to a place of love, if we get back to a place of serving one another and considering other people, even if we're going through things ourselves, I believe, and then that's where the answer comes from as in regards to our own personal life. It's through helping somebody else. So come up with that game plan while you're currently getting ready to ETS and get out, and then just tap in. You got Texas Veterans Commission that's out there that you can tap into, and all these different organizations that's there to be able to get you, operating again and getting you acclimated to being a civilian, because that's what you're going to be. You're going to be a civilian,
right?
At the end of the day, and that's the part that people have to recognize, is that you're a civilian now. You're not in the military, even though you still may, operate like you're in the military and still have that same structure. You're a civilian now, and you have to learn how to operate as not necessarily operate. I can't say, not saying that you have to, become accustomed to the civilian way of life per se, but you need to learn how to maneuver and do certain things, because you're going to have certain individuals that ain't going to have that mentality like you. And you're going to get pissed off and you're going to get frustrated, and it's going to want to make you slap the taste out of somebody now sometime, but you can't do that or you're going to end up in jail.
Right. Definitely. Before we wrap up, I have one more question. If you could do it over again, would you?
I would, because I could say that the experiences that I've had since everything has taken place, I may not have ever had it. I got a chance to go to Israel 2 years ago, or maybe 2.5 years ago, through an organization called Heroes of Heroes.
Oh, wow.
And I asked myself, would that opportunity have presented itself had you not went through all those situations where you got terminated or this happened? But I believe that every single thing that took place, it was interconnected to be able to equip me to operate where I'm at right now. Because when you think about my business, not only do we just offer the cooking classes and all of that, it's mentorship that's involved in all of it, and a lot of it is being able to teach, a younger generation, certain things about life. And so when I teach this younger generation about life, it's teaching them about love, influence, forgiveness, and experience, which are 4 components that I believe that we all need, even whether it be we're adults or younger. And so to be able to equip them with that is helping them to be better successful. And what better way can I help them than by sharing with them the story of me being terminated multiple different times and how I continue to persevere through that situation to where I'm at right now, and then where I want to go. Everybody has a story. You just can't be afraid to share that story.
Ooh, amen. Oh, amen. So let everybody know where they can find you.
So currently right now, everything that social media wise is under Chefs in the City 713 on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Chefs in the City. Under my personal page, I believe that you can follow me now, because I'm already, I think, maxed out with the amount of friends that you can carry, but it's under Edwin Henderson. The website I'm actually getting worked on right now, but the website is going to be chefsitc.com. Because I can't own Chefs in the City right now, because I think it costs about $8,000 just to own that domain. But I'm going to eventually get that. But that's where you can find me. We have events coming up right now next week on March the 10th. We have For the Love of Tacos. That's going to be from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. I got a pianist coming out that's going to perform for about an hour and a half, named KG. I got a poet coming out, Outspoken Bean, that's going to spit a little poetry for us. The bar manager, shout out to Brandon, he's also going to be doing some poetry, and then we're going to also do karaoke. So you can definitely find a link to that. It's going to be, the ticket right now is $25, but I'm actually selling them for $18, up until that Tuesday. So definitely come out. It's a great time. We create elevated tacos that are very, very different. Myself and my fellow chef, Chef James, Cooking with Chef James, it's just an experience. It's something that I think that you don't want to miss, and it's held at my friend's restaurant. Shout out to Chef Dominic. It's located in the Heights. The restaurant is called, I always say it wrong, but it's like Putin's. It's spelled Poitins. So Google it, because I can't remember the address right now, but it's a very dope spot. Very great scenery and good view of the downtown skyline.
Okay. Again, I want to thank you so much, Chef Henderson, for coming and being on the show. It just means so much. It really, your story is such an inspiration. Like, I hope everybody who's out here and who's listening, takes notes because I've learned a lot of gems from that. Um, so again, I want to say thank you. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Melanated Veteran. Check out our website at www.themelanatedveteran.com. I'm your host, Miss Misha, signing off, saying embrace what makes you you.